Once upon a time, in a large and busy city, there lived a wealthy merchant with his 3 daughters. The youngest daughter, named Beauty, was as lovely on the inside as she was on the outside. She was kind, thoughtful, and always willing to help others. Her 2 older sisters, however, were selfish and cared only about fashion and parties. They often teased Beauty for her simple ways, but she didn't mind. The merchant was a successful trader who brought goods from faraway lands. One day, a terrible storm sank all his ships. He lost everything and became very poor. The family had to leave their grand house in the city and move to a small cottage in the countryside. Beauty worked hard to make their new home comfortable. She cooked, cleaned, and planted flowers, while her sisters spent their days complaining. Despite her sisters' bad moods, Beauty remained cheerful. She found joy in reading books and taking long walks in the forest. "Happiness comes from within," she would say to herself, and she truly believed it. One day, the merchant received news that one of his ships had survived the storm. It was in a distant port, and he decided to travel there to reclaim his goods. Before he left, he asked his daughters what gifts they would like him to bring back. "Bring me fine dresses and expensive jewels," said the oldest daughter. "Bring me a golden crown," said the second daughter. Beauty smiled and said, "Father, I would like a single rose." "That is all." The merchant kissed his daughters goodbye and set off on his journey. When he arrived at the port, he found that his ship had been taken by creditors. Heartbroken and tired, he began the long journey home, wondering how he would face his daughters empty-handed. On his way back, the merchant got lost in a dark forest. Snow began to fall, and the air grew colder. Suddenly, he saw a light shining in the distance. He followed it and found himself in front of a grand castle. The gates opened on their own, and the merchant cautiously stepped inside. Inside the castle, he found a table filled with delicious food. There was no one in sight. Hungry and cold, the merchant ate the food and rested by the fire. "Whoever lives here must be very generous," he thought. The next morning, the merchant prepared to leave. As he walked through the garden, he saw a bush covered in beautiful roses. Remembering Beauty's wish, he picked one. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the garden. A terrible beast appeared, towering over the merchant. "How dare you steal my roses?" growled the beast. "I gave you food and shelter, and this is how you repay me?" The merchant fell to his knees. "Please forgive me," he begged. "The rose is for my daughter. She loves flowers and asked for just one." The beast's eyes softened. "You may leave," he said, "but only if your daughter comes here to take your place. If she refuses, you must return yourself." The merchant reluctantly agreed. He returned home with a heavy heart and told his daughters what had happened. Beauty listened carefully to her father's story. "Father," she said, "I will go to the castle. The beast spared your life, and it is only fair that I keep your promise." The next morning, Beauty and her father traveled to the castle. The beast greeted them at the gates. "You are brave to come here," he said to Beauty. "Your father may leave now." Beauty hugged her father goodbye and entered the castle. She was surprised to find it warm and welcoming. The beast showed her to a beautiful room, filled with books and flowers. That evening, they ate dinner together. The beast was polite, but quiet. Beauty felt nervous, but tried to be kind. "Thank you for your hospitality," she said. "Beauty," the beast said, "you're free to go anywhere in the castle. But there is one rule: never enter the west wing." Beauty promised to obey. Over the next few weeks, she explored the castle and discovered its many wonders. She found a library filled with books from around the world and a garden with every kind of flower imaginable. At first, Beauty was afraid of the beast. But as time passed, she saw his kind and gentle side. He listened to her stories and even laughed at her jokes. Every evening he would ask, "Beauty, will you marry me?" And every evening she would reply, "No, beast, I am not ready." One day, Beauty found a magical mirror in the library. When she looked into it, she could see her family. She saw that her father was ill and her sisters were unhappy. The beast noticed her sadness. "What is troubling you?" he asked. "I miss my family," she said. "I wish I could see them." The beast thought for a moment. "You may visit them," he said, "but promise to return in 7 days." Beauty agreed. She used the magic mirror to travel home. Her family was overjoyed to see her, especially her father. Her sisters, however, were jealous of her beautiful clothes and happy spirit. "Stay longer," they urged her. "The beast won't mind." Beauty stayed longer than she promised. One night, she had a terrible dream. She saw the beast lying in the garden, weak and dying. She woke up in a panic. Beauty rushed back to the castle. When she arrived, she found the beast in the garden, barely breathing. "Beauty," he whispered, "I thought you would never return." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't leave me." At that moment, Beauty realized she loved the beast. "Yes, I will marry you," she said. Suddenly, a bright light filled the garden. The beast transformed into a handsome prince. Beauty gasped in surprise. "The curse is broken," the prince explained. "A witch turned me into a beast long ago. Only true love could set me free." Beauty and the prince returned to her family and invited them to live at the castle. Her sisters, ashamed of their jealousy, apologized and promised to change. Beauty and the prince lived happily ever after, proving that love and kindness are stronger than appearances.